All right, welcome back to another episode of the Karter Cast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, as always, Chase and Connor. Connor, you're finally back. Missing one, here back, missing another, back finally once again. Mavs punched their tickets to the NBA Finals tonight. They win the series 4-1 over the Timberwolves. Blowout tonight, Luka legacy game. We'll get into all that and everything else. But before we do that, we are brought to you by SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com for $20 off your first purchase. Use code KarterCast, KarterKast. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions do apply. Go to SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app today. Use code KarterCast. $20 off your first purchase. Let's get into the show today. Connor, welcome back. First off, like I mentioned before.
Load managing. I've been load managing, Karter.
Yeah, you are load managing.
Too many shows in a week.
He is a LeBron fan, so he learned it from the best.
And the thing is, you can't. Yeah, exactly. And also, you can't load manage right now. We hardly have any basketball left. We hardly have any sports left. Sooner or later, I'm going to be sitting here like, hey guys, do you want to come do a Copa America Euro preview? Like, I kind of like England this year. I think it's their year to win the Euro. And you guys are going to be like, no. I actually have to hang out with my girlfriend or wife.
That'll pull some numbers, Karter. Come on.
Exactly. Anyhow, back. Luka legacy game tonight. Kyrie balled out. Both had 30-plus, combined for 70-plus. Unbelievable game by both of them. Mavs win by $1 billion. They win the series 4-1 over the Timberwolves. We had the discourse over the last couple days. Can the Timberwolves do it? And everything the NBA wanted. They're like, yes, perfect. Like, we can squeeze one more, just everything out of that piece, just out of the juice, out of the fruit, whatever. You know what I meant. And we got the discourse and everything, and he got shut down immediately. That game started. Luka starts off the game 5 for 5, 12 points immediately in the first quarter. Unbelievable. It was one of those games you're like, oh, this is one of those games you pinpoint 2 years from now and say that was the legacy game for him. I don't think it's quite on the scale of LeBron Game 6 in Boston with the Miami Heat, but it's one of those games where he just went in there and just dominated and never looked back. I'll start with you, Connor. Overall thoughts from this game tonight specifically, and then the series as a whole.
Yeah, so real quick on the game, I started taking notes and then pretty quickly stopped because I was like, yeah, this game's over. Like, there's really no need to discuss the specifics. I mean, we can talk about
Wait, you didn't take notes on Luka Garza plus minus? I mean, he was the best plus minus on the team tonight.
He played pretty well, per 48 as we talked about. But yeah, stopped doing that pretty quickly. And then I just started thinking about the series as a whole. And my number one takeaway for this Dallas team, because that's where I want to start here, is they've molded themselves to be the perfect fit around Luka. They fill in all the cracks of his play style. You've got two athletic rim-running bigs that protect the rim and they hold up on switches. That's what he's always needed his whole career. You have multiple elite, long wing defenders both in the starting lineup and on the bench that can hit timely threes. He also hasn't had that his whole career. You got, PJ, Derrick Jones Jr., Josh Green off the bench. These guys come in and can switch, play defense, and hit threes. You don't lose much on offense with them on the court. You're not sacrificing anything. Because you know why? Luka creates everything. They don't have to be creators. They sit in the corner, and all they have to decide is, oh, should I shoot this, or should I swing the ball, or should I maybe, have a dribble drive once in a while? And that's about it. And then finally, there's a perfect number two, a perfect sidekick, or maybe even 1B in Kyrie Irving that can fully take over games at any moment, but also has no problem deferring. And that's really where his game's matured over the years, is that him from, 6-8 years ago would be like, it's my team. Like, I want to leave LeBron. Let's go to Boston. I want my own team. Now he's like, oh, Luka's the guy, but I'm also still here, but I'll defer sometimes as well. He can score 1-on-1 against anyone in the league, and you almost have to trap Luka. And then when Kyrie Irving gets the ball 4-on-3, you've lost. Because at that point, he's making the right play. He's either taking it to the rim, scoring, or making the right play. And finally, Luka, I want to close here on my opening point. He literally has control over almost every game he plays in. And I don't know if it's because I haven't seen it on this stage that much, because 2 years ago with that Mavs team that went to the Western Finals, wasn't anywhere near this team. The supporting cast was like Dwight Powell and Reggie Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith.
Jalen Brunson.
Well, yeah, but before he was Jalen Brunson. Like, that's
when he came on. But yeah, that's what you're saying. Like, the supporting cast was horrible, and when they got to the Western Conference Finals, you're like, they have zero shot.
Zero shot, right. And then if they trapped Luka, you're not worried about Dwight Powell, beating you 4-on-3 at the free throw line, because you're just trapping Luka. Nobody else is going to beat you. I think I'm going to give credit to the Mavs, like front office, GM, Nico Harrison, for crafting a great team, yes. Also credit to the players, though, because it does take them buying into their role and maximizing what they do best and knowing their role, knowing what they're good at around a heliocentric player. I know that word's been thrown around a lot, but like Luka and like Kyrie, this team's a perfect mold around them. And honestly, it's been a lot of fun to watch. And I never would have expected this going into the playoffs.
You know what I love about all this is that it's the Mavs are built just as a slightly better version of the James Harden Rockets. It's the same thing essentially, because
the centers.
I think the centers, yes, but then I also think the number 2 option. The number 2 option is the key there, because whether it's Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, whoever, they're not Kyrie. And also, Russell Westbrook could take over a game, but you're also very happy with Russell Westbrook shooting a three-pointer on any possession. That's a win for you as a defense if Russell Westbrook's shooting a three. Kyrie can score at all 3 levels on the court. And so it's just, like I said, I think it's just they looked at the Rockets' blueprint and said, okay, let's kind of tweak it around, build it around, just like they did, just a better version of it. And that's what they've did. That's what they've exactly done. And I think you look like, it's interesting because we talk about Luka now, and we're like, this is amazing. He's great. Like, it's a similar play style to what James Harden was doing, and we always talk about James Harden, this fat piece of crap. What is he doing? All this, and James Harden. If Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, we're arguably talking about these teams being at the same point where the Rockets make the finals. Probably would have beaten that Cavs team if we're being honest. And James Harden and those Rockets are fine, or have an NBA Finals, and it's just interesting how we think about that, but with those injuries and everything.
It also helps, Carter. They don't have to play the 17-18 Warriors with Kevin Durant either. These Mavericks
Well, I mean, Rudy Gobert and Cat are probably better than those Warriors teams.
Fair,
if we're being honest.
You know what?
But
fair.
if you couldn't catch on to my sarcasm there, please just turn off the podcast right now. Just turn it off. You're gonna hate the rest of this episode then. But Chase, overall thoughts and everything from tonight and the series as a whole.
Yeah, I won't go too much. Like, we've been talking so much about this Dallas team over the past few weeks as they've been continue to win. Talk about how much we love the way this team's been made up and how they fit Luka so well. I'll add to the list of shout-outs to Connor. Shout out Jason Kidd.
Better than Mark.
Better than Mark Dagnall. I think it's been confirmed. I think we don't give NBA head coaches enough credit. I know Carter thinks it's like a fake job and one of the easiest in sports.
I don't think it's a fake job, but I think we go ahead, just keep going.
Yeah, so to throw a different team together and to move pieces in the middle of the season is hard on any head coach. And I said this last podcast, but for Jason Kidd to deal with one of the biggest usage rates in NBA history in Luka Doncic, as well as like a big, and I don't want to use ego, but like, personality and attitude on the court, and be able to build a team that works and is able to see success like this is wildly impressive. Look, the Mavericks obviously wanted to win this game. They wanted to win every game. That's a stupid take, but they were not going to mess around. And Luka showed that in the first quarter. And it's scary that when they don't mess around, they can put on a performance like this. I mean, Luka obviously almost flawless. Even Kyrie had somewhat quiet 36. If that's even because Luka takes all the attention. But that's what it takes. Mavericks flip a switch. They say, we're not messing around here. And they are up 30 for 50% of the game being played.
Yeah. And did they even try that hard? I mean, obviously they were trying, but it didn't look like they were out there doing everything they could, like maximum effort. It was almost like a calm, quiet, collected, just dominant performance from an experienced team, it seemed like.
This is also going to be very simple and horrible analysis, but also life's a hell of a lot easier when shots are falling. And shots were falling for those two tonight. And when those shots are falling, the confidence just builds and compounds and the game opens up so much more. I think it's almost as simple as that. I mean, Lucas started off 5 for 5, 2 from 3, 12 points in the first 4.5 minutes. Like, it's over at that point. When you see that, you're like, oh, Luka's on pace for 80 points after the first quarter. He had 20 points in the first quarter. It makes life so much easier.
It's like
for
that Game
guys.
7 in Phoenix a couple years ago. The famous Chris Paul hits big three to cut it to 42. It was the same
best
vibes. I know.
Top 3 meme in the NBA.
I think so too. But yeah, like it wasn't a Game 7, but it was a closeout game, and they came in there, and it was almost inevitable. There's no other word to describe it. Like Luka was getting whatever he wanted, got 3 fouls on McDaniels in like 7 minutes, just getting to every spot he wanted to get to. And Minnesota, there was a lot of chatter after Game 4 that Minnesota can maybe make this a series, can maybe come back and do the impossible and win 0-3 down. Game 4, Minnesota played like it was a Game 7, which is great. They brought the intensity, brought the energy, but it was a Game 7. You have to win 4 in a row, not just a win or go home. And they dug themselves too deep of a hole. And once they went down at home, it was almost like, all right, let's pack it in.
It's interesting how kind of poor Minnesota was at home court in the playoffs. I know we can even get into that right now. But I mean, obviously, home court. It's been talked about quite a bit how home court hasn't mattered much in these playoffs. But Minnesota, especially, they won the sweep in Phoenix, but they won they lost all their games at home, right? In the Denver series, if I remember. No, they won Game 6, correct? Because they went 3-2. They were up 2-0, then 3-2, then 3-2.
That was like the 50-point win.
So they ended up going 500 from home in these playoffs. That's terrible. And they made the Western Conference Finals going 500 from home. That's a crazy stat, I feel like.
Yeah. And that's something that we can get into a little bit later as well, but it just doesn't seem to have the same effect because, Chase, I don't know if this is what you're going to eventually say, but the arenas, they're kind of all the same. Yes, the crowd's awesome, but the crowd's awesome everywhere. So it's all these lights and, there's not that many competitive advantages of having a home court anymore. What great home courts do you guys even know in the NBA anymore? I mean, there's awesome crowds. Dallas is a sick crowd, but nothing's going to make that big a difference in the game.
The Jazz?
Yeah. The Jazz, of course. The Salt Lake City Stars.
I don't know if they're Chase.
Yeah, Utah's is good because it helps when you poison the players before big games. Though it's become a big thing, and Minnesota was awful tonight defensively, which was so shocking because of how amazing we were used to seeing them the last couple of weeks. I mean, Dallas was hitting shots because they were wide open. They literally got every three they could. It took 3 passes, swing it to the corner, and PJ Washington it was just shocking because they were trying to double Luka. Luka obviously made the right pass whenever it came to him. Even Derek Lively, right? When he gets in there in the high post, he catches it, he knows where to turn, fire it, and it was easy pickings for the Mavericks tonight. The juxtaposition between this Timberwolves team that played Denver and this Timberwolves teams that played Dallas, it's almost like they're unrecognizable. And in such a weird way that Dallas was able to expose them. Does that feel right? They're just so different.
Yeah, 100%. Why do you think that is then?
I was thinking about it as I was watching this game because obviously I knew it was over. I think with Dallas, right, and with this Minnesota team, you need to be able to spread them out and hit threes. And Denver, we all know, is not a particularly amazing three-point shooting team, and they were able to pack it in a little bit with Jokic, throw 2 7-footers out there. But with this Dallas team, right, going small and playing Gafford, letting him bang down low, and honestly make a difference, and then just let your shooters shoot was the thing that did Minnesota in. They had absolutely no answer for it. This whole series, they couldn't figure it out. They won Game 4, but even then it was Dallas was one Kyrie mistake from maybe stealing that one too. So,
yeah, I think that's fair. If you want to talk about Dallas, Minnesota, as far as what Dallas did on offense against this Minnesota defense that we thought was so great, Dallas didn't it seemed like they took a lot of threes and they made timely shots. They attempted the least amount of threes they attempted all season in Game 1 with 25. Their next lowest one in the playoffs, so their lowest three-pointers attempted in the playoffs was 33 against the Clippers going into this series. In 3 games, they went 25, 31, and 28 three-pointers attempted in Games 1 through 3 when they won. So those are the least. That's the least threes they've attempted all playoffs right there, and they didn't have to shoot them. I mean, there were so many floaters. There were so many Luka in that 10-foot area where he would pump fake, give a guy off, lob it to Lively or Gafford at the rim, and get the defense off balance. And it was because they were trapping a lot as well. So yes, there's a lot of weak side threes, ball reversal threes off the trap, but also it leads to PJ Washington dribble drives, dish off, Derrick Jones Jr. even dribble drives, dish off, Jaden Hardy getting in the paint. It just gives up easy buckets and the paint's wide open. They've only got one guy down there guarding 2 people. So they didn't really have to chuck a bunch of threes. And yes, I know it's the playoffs and the pace is a lot slower. It's not like the regular season, but still, I thought that was pretty interesting that they whooped up on Minnesota without even taking that many threes.
Yeah. I wonder only if a certain player on Minnesota could have stopped. Could have stopped Dallas.
What a great transition.
Only if a player, maybe a tall French guy, historic trade guy getting paid the max deal, could have stopped players going in the paint and could have blocked some shots, gotten some rebounds.
Minnesota could have used a defensive player of the year this series.
They really could have. I mean, they lacked defense in this series. I wish they could have done so well if they had, arguably the best defender in the NBA, but I guess they didn't.
I mean, I'd probably still trade for Gobert over Kevin Durant anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean, Walker Kessler, Rudy Gobert, it's tough. It really is. 7 first-round picks, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley. I just don't know. I just don't
Lucas
know.
Samanich.
This guy, man. This Rudy Gobert guy.
I
I
was talking
think
about Luka Garza. Sorry.
Take
sorry.
Go ahead.
We've glazed the Mavs enough, as they say. Dude, Rudy Gobert, man. I mean, you guys just listened to the last minute of this podcast. What more do I need to say? What more do I need to say as a Rudy Gobert hater, as someone who dislikes Rudy Gobert? What more do I need to say? Well, if you watched the game tonight, you saw everything. Cool. He got a little and one on Lively, a little and one on Doncic. Finished with 9 and 5, minus 23 plus minus. Yes, it was a blowout. Still minus 23 plus minus. Still worse in the game. He was terrible. He was terrible tonight. Nothing short of terrible.
And the thing is, going into this series, I thought it was going to be a sneaky, favorable Rudy Gobert series. I was like, oh, Lively, Gafford off the pick and roll. Like, those guys aren't going to stretch the floor. They can't run 5 out with either of those guys out there. Like, it's not going to draw Gobert out of the paint. Instead, he got torched. He got absolutely torched on those pick and rolls and switches. And you even saw Chris Finch, at halftime and in some of those timeout huddles where it's like, hey, Rudy, you have to step up. You have to show harder and stop Luka from changing directions or getting that pass off. Like, you have to do something on these traps. Which, to be fair, like, it's hard being Rudy Gobert and a 7'2" and trapping Luka out there. But you're the defensive player of the year. You get held to a higher standard. That's what I don't think people understand. Where it's like, I wouldn't be doing this if Gobert was just like an average defender. He's won the award, Defensive Player of the Year, 4 times. You have to get held to a higher standard. And yes, I'm not saying any other center in the league could stop Luka one-on-one on a switch or do a hedge any better than that. But it's Rudy Gobert. You have to get held to a higher standard.
And he's also getting paid max money and got a generational trade haul. That's why you need to be held to a higher standard. I don't give 2 craps if you're the Defensive Player of the Year. If you're a liability on offense, you better be the best damn defender on the court. No questions asked. That's it. If you're the worst offensive player, it's like in pickup. If you suck on offense, you can't hit layups, you can't hit threes, you can't dribble the ball, you can't pass the ball, well, you better be the scrappiest guy in the gym playing the most annoying defense on your team. He's just not. He's not. Naz Reid was a better defender in this series. You can't tell me otherwise. Naz Reid was the better player than him in this series. Even Cat was better. Yes, we did this last episode, Chase. Cat versus Gobert. Who do you take? I mean, you have to keep Gobert because you gave out all that money and all that, not money, the assets and whatnot. But
right.
I said it. I said it last episode, and I'll say it again. Minnesota is in a very scary spot. They're in a very scary spot because how many years does Anthony – I know we're in the beginning of this, and it's hard to say this now, and it's easy after the Western Conference Finals. Dump on them, whatever. Credit to Minnesota. Unbelievable season. Unreal. You were right there for the best team in the Western Conference. You made it to the Western Conference Finals, got that big Game 7 win in Denver. That's huge for Anthony Edwards. You know what it doesn't matter for is Rudy Gobert because we know who he is. We know who he is. We know who Karl Anthony Towns is. That is the problem, is the supporting cast around Ant. And eventually you're in one of the worst markets in the league. What point does he say, I don't want to do this? Because you're not going to get enough in return for Cat or Rudy Gobert. They're in a weird spot where they're never, ever winning a NBA title with Rudy Gobert and Cat playing together. They're not. It's not happening. If it was going to happen, it was going to happen right now in this year. Or they're going to need a bunch of miracle injuries for them to get back, and that's just not happening. The Western Conference is only getting better, and then they're going to have to go up against the Celtics, who are a much better team.
Real quick before you go, Chase. This reminds me of the Buffalo Bills because that's what we talked about when they played the Chiefs. It's like, oh, Josh Allen's so close, like lost to Mahomes in overtime, but they're here for the long haul. They're here to stay. All of a sudden, that championship window gets slammed shut. Stephon Diggs is gone. Joe Burrow's arrived. Lamar Jackson's in the AFC. It's like all of a sudden, well, wait, we thought Josh Allen was going to contend for the next 8 years, and now it's like, ooh, like the Bills are like the 4th best team in the conference, maybe. And I think that's what we're going to see with the Wolves, where it's like, yes, Anthony Edwards is young. He's 22. But that championship window, you never know how long you have. The Thunder are much younger than them, much deeper than them, much more talented than this Minnesota team.
And have more assets.
More assets. Denver will be here to stay with Jokic. He's going to age like fine wine. They're going to be able to put great guys around him. Just the conference is tough, and there's no guarantee they will be back in this spot because Conley's aging out. Gobert's not been great. Cat is not a solid number 2 that's going to win you a title. What else is there? McDaniels fouled out in 5 minutes tonight. Like, that doesn't make me feel great about the supporting cast. And you never know how big your championship window is. And you're right, Carter. I would be a little scared. Obviously, you're taking Anthony Edwards over most players in the league to rebuild a franchise around. But that supporting cast leaves a lot to be desired.
Two things real quick. Chase, I swear, I promise on everything I will let you go. Two things. One, I love the Anthony Edwards, Josh Allen comparison. That's so similar. They're both super exciting to watch. You're like, they're here. They're going to be amazing. They're the future of this league. And then we're going to be talking in 3-4 years like, why didn't they win? How are they going to win? Like, and NFL, you can't really like ask for trades and whatnot or anything. Also, second thing, talking about the Bills, if you believe the Bills' championship window is closed shut, then maybe Patriots to win the playoffs. I told you I'd let you go, Chase.
What a great
to
segue.
make it to the playoffs.
All right. Well, I have a bunch of material on Drake May, and this seems like as good a time as any. I won't say much more about Rudy Gobert other than I agree with you all, and I'm not scared of him as a defender anymore. It's like, you don't even.
No, be honest. In the NBA playoffs in a 7-game series, were you ever scared of Rudy Gobert? Because if you remember 2 years ago, we talked about that Mavs Jazz series. Jalen Brunson was attacking Gobert every switch.
Well, that's what I was going to say. As I was going to say, about 3-4 years ago, it really was when it was like, holy crap, it's Gobert. Like, he just held down everything in Utah. And that was their defensive scheme, right? Funnel everything to him, let him protect the rim. And it seems like that Dallas series was really kind of the turning point to where people kind of like Brunson obviously figured out how to attack him and everyone else fell suit. And so he's not that presence he used to be. I think he was at some point, Karter, to answer your question, at least a little bit. It was like they got Gobert down there. Like he's making a difference and you could see it. This series, I like barely even noticed he was on the court because heaven knows he's not doing anything on offense.
There's tape on it also now. People have seen this for years.
Exactly. And so I mean, like, a defensive player of the year is a sketchy award at best because it just goes to the same three guys anyway. And Marcus Smart, shout out. But he's not the same, and I don't think it's particularly like he changed. It's just that like everyone else was like, oh wait a second, we know how to attack this guy. He's 7 foot and he's just a lanky dude, but we've been there, done that. So
branching off that, does this speak to like a larger conversation of the way team defense is heading in the NBA, like the direction we're heading? Because more and more now, I watch a lot of basketball and I see, wait, we can just play 4 wings and a point guard or 4 wings and a big guard and just swish everything, and we don't sacrifice that much in the post because there's like, 5 guys, 7 guys in the league that you're scared of back to the basket. And then if you got guys that can box out and rebound that are 6'7" and can switch everything, that's kind of the direction we're heading. You don't need really that elite rim protector right now.
No, but the problem with that is, that works against Rudy Gobert because he's just not an offensive threat. If your big man's an offensive threat and has any bit of a post game or can shoot the 3 ball, you're cooked.
Right, but the thing is, how much different is it going to be having Gobert on Nikola Jokic or having some other lesser reputation defender on Jokic? Like Jokic is going to have his way no matter what.
Oh, you're saying like just another 7-footer, like you throw,
I'm saying you can't spend as much as you're spending on Gobert or give up.
Assets. You're throwing Nick Richards on Jokic and paying a tenth of the cost. Yeah,
and
I think that is fair.
To where every team had to have a big rim protector. You had to have an enforcer, huge guy at the rim to meet you there. Like guys that weren't even very offensively skilled from what I've seen. But now we're pivoting away from that, it seems like. And yes, you always have to have like a center to guard another opposing center that's good back to the basket, great post moves. But it can't be like your second highest paid player. That's going to really cap your ceiling.
Yeah. I do think the thing is though, Connor, the NBA is just getting taller and taller, right? But the skills are getting further away from the basket, to your point. And so it doesn't seem like height makes that much of a difference anymore in those areas, like near the basket and defensively and protecting the rim. Whereas it starts to mean something like if you're Kevin Durant, like away from the basket, getting your shot off, being unblockable from the mid range. That's a good point. Yeah.
You're always going to want taller guys. And the thing, that's just like human nature. You're going to want taller guys. But the thing we're seeing
you don't
now
want
is
Reed Shepard?
Maybe not. But you can't have.
He's got the highest vert.
Bronny's close. But you can't have taller guys that are not skilled anymore. Like these taller guys have to be able to shoot, stretch the floor, switch on defense. You can't just have a guy in there because he's 7'3" to stand in front of the rim. Like you want height on your team, obviously. Basically, yes, but not guys that aren't skilled.
How funny would it be if the Timberwolves draft Zach Edey?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you're rotating him and Gobert 48 minutes.
They're just collecting useless 7-footers at that point.
Imagine if they got Zach Edey. But
no, I was watching. Sorry, I was watching some old Celtics playoff series back in 08-09, that range when Pierce and stuff. No, but my point is this is when the Derrick Rose era in Chicago was kicking off, and it was like, holy crap, look at this kid kind of thing. And Brad Miller, if you guys even know who that is, played
we know Brad Miller.
He played the whole time. Like, he had the second most minutes on the Bulls. And I'm like, this guy would not have a spot on a roster in today's NBA. So just to your point, Connor, like, just some useless tall white guy was so valuable just like 15 years ago.
Omer Sheik is a good one.
I mean, Brian Scalabrini's, like, you got the Scalabrinis, the Lua Munsons. I mean, Mark Madsen's another great example. Like, those guys, like,
Mark
Pope, like, imagine those guys on an NBA court today, just elbows. I mean, you might as well have a Plumlee out there at that point.
Yeah,
but even Plumlee's
crazy.
Skilled.
No,
Plumlee's got
Marshall.
some handle. He's got. It's true.
Hey.
That's all.
Yeah, but anyhow, that's enough hate on Gobert. That's enough hate. See, that's when the slander goes too far. When I spend a 15-minute podcast segment on hating Gobert. But
hey, real quick, what if Gobert was on the Mavs and he could play with Luka and just get lobs the whole game and sit back and pressure him like Lively?
I don't think he's a good enough player on the pick and roll though.
Screw up the offense.
I think you're right. I don't think he has good enough hands or coordination around the rim. I think you're right.
And I don't think he has a good enough feel to, like, you see him off rolls. It's just like one speed with his like shoulders hunched, and then he just goes up and like that, like straight arms. But no, Lively's the perfect fit. I mean, he came back in this game. Connor, we were texting before the game. We're just like, oh man, like we didn't know what Lively was going to be tonight and all that. And brother, he was balling tonight. Chase, we say it every episode, man. These Mavs role players, they just step up. Every player just steps up. Derek Jones could not shoot a basketball when he was on the Phoenix Suns, and he was, trying to compete in dunk contests to stay in the league. All of a sudden, this guy's an elite spot-up shooter in the playoffs. All of a sudden, PJ Washington was the most streaky, inconsistent player on the Hornets. He's solid. Don't get me wrong. He's a rock star for the Dallas Mavericks. Daniel Gafford was on the Wizards. Like, it's crazy, man. They were all awesome tonight. Obviously, this was the Luka Kyrie game, and their lives are so much easier when those guys are hitting. But once again, man, that's why. That's going back to your point at the beginning of the episode, Connor. That's why the Mavs are here, and that's they got the right guys around them.
Carter, quick little Gobert game, real quick. You guys know Gobert's contract? Do you know the numbers?
Is it $47 million a year?
I don't know.
Yes. It's about 43. So it's 5 years, $205 million. You know what Derek Lively's contract is?
4 years, $9 million.
3.5 million.
4 years, $22 million. About five a year.
Yeah.
That's the difference between Gobert and Lively. And who would you rather have on your team?
But let's break this down real quick. Even to that point, yes, I would rather have Lively, especially that money and all that. But really think about this. If the Minnesota Timberwolves do not give up all those assets and everything for Rudy Gobert and who they have and what they have around them. They have Malik Beasley, great spot-up shooter, had shot over 40% from three this season. They have Walker Kessler, who can do just about everything, if not better, than Rudy Gobert at some points, and he's on a cheap deal. Plus, they have all their assets to trade for a big-name superstar. Plus, they have the Jared Vanderbilts and those guys who probably would have left and whatnot, but they still have all those assets. The difference where the Timberwolves would be, we always talk about it right now, it's all fun and games. Like, yay, they're in the Western Conference Finals, but they're not. It's the getting over that hump to the finals is going to be infinitely harder as if they didn't do that Gobert trade.
But what do we always say about the Wolves? It's like, they have no interior defense. Cat playing the 5. He's not a rim protector. He can't switch.
But they would have had Walker Kessler. They would have had Walker Kessler.
They couldn't have known that, though.
I understand that, and I know that's a tough what-if game to play, because I also do hate whenever we're like, the Hornets could have had Devin Booker instead of this guy. And you're just like, dude, he came off the bench from Kentucky. There's a reason he was the 13th, 14th pick in the draft. Like, come on, man. Like, there's a reason Jokic was in the second round. Like, stop this. But also, that pick seemed like the thing is, they needed that interior rim protection, and before Gobert, they still needed it. They were still going to draft Walker Kessler in that spot anyways, whether they traded him to Utah or not.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Real quick on Lively, just while we're on the topic, I don't think. So I knew he was pretty good out of college.
No.
Here's the thing. Well, this was my point. I don't think there's a better fit for him in the league. Like, if he went to any other team, I don't think he would be near this level. I don't think we'd be seeing nearly as many minutes. He would be labeled as like a project, like, oh, he might be a good rotational big in the next few years if he was playing on like some normal team. But just because he's playing with Luka in this type of offense and this system, I think that's why he's really flourished. So it's like, yeah, he was decent coming out of college, top 10 pick, but I never thought he'd be this. Never thought he'd be this.
I think this is – I think you're right there, especially in his first year. But I think he would have done well in Golden State.
I mean, maybe.
No,
I don't know.
Golden State, you're just a screener, dude. All you do is run around and set screens.
Involved. Yeah, they're not involved.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but offensively he wouldn't have been involved, but defensively he would have been great for them as well. And like I guess in the same role he would have done the same thing in Phoenix. I mean, I think you're right though. I mean, no one can run the pick and roll like Luka in the league right now.
Well, the other point I wanted to make with Lively is, did you see his assists this series? It was 3, 2, 2, and 3. For a center, Derek Lively having 2.5 assists a game in the playoff series in the Western Finals.
Every time after that screen they trap on Luka or Kyrie, he gets that ball in open space. You know who would, like, that's their worst nightmare, is James Wiseman. Could you imagine James Wiseman getting that ball, open court, you have 3 options to pass to or go into the paint? I think he just poops his pants and then dribbles off his leg. There's no way it ends up in someone's hands.
You would just see his head like rotate like a full 90 degrees. Like, what do I do? But that was my main point about Lively, is that not only he's making the right decision, he's making it fast enough to where the defense can't recover and rotate. Because if you get the ball at the free throw line and wait 2 or 3 seconds and then make the right pass, the defense is already back. They're already recovered. You're screwed. And there's only 10 on the shot clock. He's making it quick enough to where, like, all right, I got the ball at the line, swing it to the wing, and then they can either drive it to the lane, or if they get trapped, they can swing it to the corner. And his quick decision-making, that led to countless wide-open threes for Derek Jones, PJ, Josh Green, whoever else. And they can just attack off the dribble. And even Kyrie tonight. Kyrie had multiple wing spot-up threes off that trap on Luka where Lively kicked it out to him. Like, that was just, I think it can't be overstated what he was doing. And then rotating him and Gafford every 4 minutes like a hockey rotation. Yep. I mean, to not lose anything, I really think that sparks them, like, on defense, to where these guys, like, especially Gafford on defense, if he's playing 7-8 minute spurts, he doesn't have the same energy. But if he's in there for 4 minutes and he's like, you know what, I know I'm in here for 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to play my ass off, I'm going to jump for everything, block everything, get every rebound, and then I'm going to get a blow, get a sub in like 5 minutes. I think that really does play into it. Yes, get a blow. We can talk about that.
Pause. We're leaving that in there. But no, I think you're right. It's because, and you talked about, you thought this was going to be a Rudy Gobert series, and going into the series, you're like, okay, yeah, these bigs were awesome in the OKC series, but OKC lacks so much size, they give up a lot. They're not going to have that same success in this series, and wasn't stat-wise, but they were just as impactful, if not more, in this series against the Timberwolves, even against more size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll cut that part out.
All right, hold on. All right, ready.
No, we're chilling. No, we'll leave it in there. They can get the raw cut. They can get the raw cut. There's no internet problems tonight.
No, there's not.
Imagine listening to this show with the internet problems. They have no idea how hard our lives are.
I know.
Or how hard you work, Carter, just editing it all.
They have no idea how hard it is sitting there watching YouTube videos about the dumbest stuff while you're sitting there like, why isn't this exporting at the same rate? Hurry up. Oh, man. Oh, I have to hear my voice for 2 hours editing this? This is terrible. But
this is why people tune in, the authenticity of the show right here. This is how the sausage is made.
Yeah. I know. But yeah, are you looking at the series though, how disappointed are you with the Timberwolves? Is it, should we, obviously it's a successful season, it's great, this is awesome, this is where you kind of want to be, but to go out like this is very, very sad. I'll make a comparison to BYU basketball this season. They way overachieved. They had no reason to be, top 5 in the Big 12. And then they go out against Duquesne and get their cheeks clapped. And you're like, oh, this was a great season, but I'm left with barf in my mouth.
Well, I made that point a few episodes ago where it was like, yes, like, take a step back and look at the season as a whole. This is a successful season. Like, hey, Wolves fans, if I told you you'd beat Denver and make the Western Finals and Anthony Edwards is 22 years old, you're taking that instantly and you're not even thinking about it. But all of a sudden, as you go further in the playoffs, as you have more faith in your team, it's like, wait a second, this ceiling I set for them before the season, it's not really where I am anymore. Like, now I'm going to be disappointed if they lose in the Western Finals, whereas 3 months ago, you'd have been ecstatic. So it's like the goalposts constantly move during these playoff runs. I don't think I'd be disappointed, but it has to leave a bad taste in your mouth the way you went out, getting absolutely dominated by Dallas. It's one thing if you take the series to 7 and, everyone's awesome and, you just lose because Luka and Kyrie have 40 a game in Game 7 or something like that. There's a difference in that and getting your ass absolutely kicked like they did in this Western Final Series. I don't think disappointed is the right word, but I would just say there's probably, like you said, Carter, like a barfy taste in your mouth where it's like, ugh, I wish they would have shown up a little bit more in the Western Finals.
Yeah, and I think that's also included because the last game was so bad. So let's say this Game 2 was the blowout, and you just swap Game 2 and Game 5. You're like, I mean, we were right there. Like, 5 games, that was tough. We lose on a last-second shot. But now you're leaving that game, you're like, they gave up. They really gave up. Like, Anthony Edwards didn't. He tried to, they're down 30, and he's doing the whole song and dance still. He tried. He
wasn't shooting the ball. The middle of the game, he was not shooting the ball. He was deferring to Kyle Anderson every possession.
In the third or the second?
Both.
In the third, he tried to turn it on. They brought that. I think they brought it back to 22, and then
the second.
PJ Washington got that and one, and then they go off, and it was a 33-point game immediately after. So, but yeah, credit to the Mavs tonight. I mean, just unbelievable run in this playoff so far. They've got to win it though. This is like, hey, this is your golden ticket. This is I mean, obviously they are built and they'll be back and whatnot, but Boston and Dallas, man, you don't get this chance very very often. Chase, are you worried?
Yeah. Am I? It's so foolish to ever say no about someone like Luka Doncic heading into the finals with Kyrie Irving at his side, and after what we've seen them do. So yeah, I'm worried.
But
why wouldn't I be?
Do you think there are? This might be a dumb question, and we can cut this out if it's that stupid. Do you think if the Mavs somehow win this series against the Celtics in the finals, and the Celtics are so close yet again, how major of mental ramifications are there from that? Because you're like, are we ever actually going to do it? Like, we couldn't do it in 22. We couldn't do it this year in 24, and we choked to the Heat. Like, I almost think that, like, if it doesn't happen now, is it just not ever going to happen? Can physically get themselves to run it back again?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. This would be a demoralizing loss.
Because it's against a team too where you never expected to play them in the finals. If we're being
right,
honest.
and they're already favored, obviously, and this is what they've worked towards. And you have one of the statistically greatest teams in NBA history. It's finals or bust, and it's like, if it's bust, then it's like, what else do we need to do? We made all the right trades. We had one of the best seasons. We won, almost 80 games, depending on how the series ends up, right? And we still couldn't come up with it. Yeah, I think it would. That is. This is
different than Minnesota, because if you're Boston and you win 64 games in the regular season and make it to the finals like you're supposed to, and then lose to the Mavericks, who you're clearly favored against, that's disappointing. I think at this point that's disappointing. It's not like this is their first run. They've been here before. They've been in the Eastern Conference Finals for, I don't even know, 6 of the last 8 years, something ridiculous like that. Like, they've been here. Now the pressure's on them to win this. I really do think so. Like, yes, Dallas, Luka's first title, sure, but the pressure's on Boston. Like, this is what they're supposed to do.
I think it's going to be pretty. I just don't know. Like, especially in the regular season next year, I think, regardless of what happens in these finals, I think Boston and Dallas, we are going to see generational type of load managing and not giving an F in the regular season next year from both of these teams. Could you imagine if the Mavs win these finals and they go into the regular season next year, how little they're going to care about the Wizards on a Tuesday or even the ESPN Denver Friday game? They're not going to care at all about anything. Now that these
Luka's going to be drunk until Thanksgiving.
And especially if the Celtics, yeah, exactly. And especially if the Celtics lose in the finals, imagine they're like, why we went so hard in the regular season last year. We were 15 games above in the first seed in the East. We tried so hard. We did this and that. What motivation do you have to go balls to the wall in the regular season at that point?
You don't. That's the thing. I don't think you do.
In-season tournament,
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tournament for sure. Hang the
Awards, gotta play. You gotta play 65 games.
Yeah, that's true.
banner. You don't have to
true,
try
but-
in 65 though.
You know, trying 65. We've seen that.
It's true.
Yeah.
One point about the finals. I think there's going to be this is like major finals for like people's legacies. I know we don't need to get into like legacy talk. That's like a summer thing, but Luka and Tatum both going for their first ring. Like you don't really know how many times you're going to be in the finals, so you can't squander your opportunities like that.
And also, and it's very unfair to Tatum. I think this is still very unfair to him. But the national media and social media and Twitter as a whole are going to label him as a loser if he loses these finals and a choker and, he can never win the big one kind of thing. And it's going to put
Which
that
is wrong
stain
because he's
on
not
him.
even 20 years old yet.
Yeah, he's still 19. That's what they don't understand. And he's going to his second finals already. Been to the Eastern Conference 6 times in 8 years, and he's 19. No one has ever done that.
He left Duke last year.
Man, I really wish they didn't meet up with South Carolina last year in the tournament. That sucked.
Stop! You're gonna put me like the Matrix. It's like wake up, guys.
Chase, anything else?
Oh, I got tons of thoughts. What do you mean? This is
what do
like
you
the
wanna-
biggest next 3 weeks of my life as a Celtics fan.
But we're gonna do a big finals preview for next week. But anything briefly you need to get off your chest right now?
I'll say this.
Let me steer, Chase. How about
Go
this?
for it.
Does Porzingis, how much do they acclimate him back in? Like, do they instantly start him and he's featured in the offense immediately playing 40 minutes a game, or do they kind of like ease him back into it?
They're going to ease him in. I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't play game one, especially if they're having like an easy time. But if they were to lose,
if he doesn't start, maybe.
yeah, if they were to lose game one though, then it's like Porzingis, we need you. Here's 30 minutes. Like
I think
all signs point to him healthy. Yeah. I think he is, and Boston's been able to just coast and have this extensive break for everyone. It's going to be great for them, and Dallas is going to get the same thing. The finals don't start till next Thursday.
Right.
My lingering thoughts are this: Dallas is an awesome team, and this is Boston fan Chase talking. I've really enjoyed watching them. I like Luka's game. I always have. He's going to be so annoying. I'm going to hate his guts.
Yeah, but then there's a deep part of you as Boston fans that are going to be like, I would do anything for this guy. I would do anything for this guy.
No.
He's so trustworthy. He's super trustworthy.
Lunch pail guy.
No, here's the thing. You're going to have everyone in Boston is going to hate Luka. Like, everyone. Because he's going to kill us with some dumb shots. He's going to foul out Jaylen Brown. He's going to complain the whole time. And all the time with a double chin, walking down the court.
Hey, whoa.
Nothing wrong with that, brother.
Yeah, hold on.
No, I'm not judging him. I'm not. Hey.
I think you just did. I think you just did.
Animosity.
I think you just said, hey, yeah, I don't like that. Not cool.
You just
No,
lost
I'm
half
just
our
saying.
viewers. That's half our audience.
Yeah.
Anyone that's Luka's played, like people in Utah. I don't know if you've noticed this, Carter. People in Utah hate Luka Doncic after one series where he smoked the Jazz. Like they hate this guy.
I bet I can name a few more people that hate more than Luka Doncic in Utah.
No, I'm not saying they hate him the most, but I'm saying is
So what group do they hate the most?
I just think, I don't know. Chase, you're like a pretty reasonable Boston fan. I think Boston might make Utah look like the NAACP in this series with Kyrie because I don't think they're going to have any holds barred in this series.
No, I don't think so either. I won't be there in person to witness it, but I'm pretty sure.
Boston,
I'm pretty sure I don't need to.
You seem like a reasonable Boston fan. Do you personally have any animosity towards Kyrie? How would you feel about his tenure there in Boston? I'm sure you were a fan back then as well. How do you feel about overall thoughts about Kyrie?
No, I was bothered by it for a really long time. Like, I was really upset until about 2 years ago when it was like that whole thing with the Nets and he was like flipping off the crowd and everyone was booing him.
That felt
and I was
forced.
I was like, we're over it. Like, I don't know what this guy did. We're better off now. So, it worked out both ways. So as personally, I'm way over it. I don't care.
I'll chime in as a neutral. I couldn't stand him either. He was annoying. He was frustrating. You're the most talented guard in this league, arguably. What are you doing? Like, just it was those antics.
Now the narrative
were super
shifted.
frustrating.
Now the narrative shifts. He's playing well, and he's not doing stupid shit off the court. So it's like, all right, we love Kyrie again.
Yeah, it's a very simple blueprint in sports.
Yeah. No, I personally am happy for him. Like I've enjoyed seeing him back. I've enjoyed seeing Kyrie back to Kyrie. I like seeing him win. I think the playoffs are more exciting with him in it. So like I'm glad. This is awesome. Like there's a little bit, there's this whole storyline now. He gets to come back to Boston, right? After all the history there. Like this is as good as we could get. So
oh, that's a good transition. Is this the most fun finals matchup you guys can think of? Like Dallas, Boston? Like, yeah, sure, we can put Denver in there, but as far as like just fun basketball goes and like my viewing pleasure, I feel like Dallas, Boston is the top 3 matchup we could ask for.
yes, I agree. Go ahead, Carter.
I'm trying to think.
Well, there's just so much potential for big games. Like there's like 5 guys who can put up 40 at any given moment.
Healthy Knicks would have been pretty fun.
Yes.
Garden, Jalen Brunson.
The problem
I think
is
it would have been pretty fun, but it wouldn't have felt as deserving. Is that stupid to say? Because I think you just knew Boston all season long was the best team in the league and in the Eastern Conference. It feels like they should belong here. And when you're thinking about the finals, because it's fun, it's like game to game. Is it fun? Because if you're thinking like legacy finals, you'd almost want Nuggets, Celtics, right? Nuggets going back to back. Storyline finals, you'd want Lakers, Celtics, obviously for 1,000 reasons. Mm-hmm. Fun finals, I don't know, Warriors.
Yeah, maybe the Thunder.
I thought
Not this iteration of the Warriors.
The Warriors Celtics in 22. I had so much fun watching that series. I thought that was awesome. But I think I love watching Curry more than any other player in the NBA. So.
Andrew Wiggins left his body for a couple weeks as well.
Jordan Poole.
Yeah, don't even get me started.
Do you love Jordan Poole?
Do I love Jordan Poole? Not at all. What do you mean? He had one great season, and of course it was the one where he met Boston in the finals. Now he sucks.
God, him
Yes,
and
I
Ingram
can't
are going to
stand
tear
him.
it up next year.
No, this finals is great. I'll tell you why. One, Boston's the best team in the NBA. Everyone's known it for a while, right? This has been very inevitable of them to be here. So whether you're either watching because you're like, this is inevitable, they're supposed to win, you want to see them win, or you just are like, I really want to see these guys lose. There's something about the best team being in the finals that's good for viewership. Mm-hmm. And on the Dallas side,
the Patriots. It's like the Patriots.
Right.
Or
right.
The Chiefs.
Or the Chiefs. You're like, this is better because they're in it. Like, no offense to the Bengals, but when they played the Rams, it just wasn't as exciting as this last Super Bowl because you're like, they just aren't the big teams. You need at least one.
And you need Taylor Swift there.
Exactly.
Facts.
With Dallas, you have a little bit of like, this is fresh, this is new. Luka's been so exciting for so long. Now we get to see him finally on the biggest stage. And we get to see a little bit of storylines here. And they're a fun brand of basketball, dude. Like, they have amazing offense. They have scrappy players that you can love. And, yeah, I think this is as good as you get.
Any trustworthy players that you could love?
No, none of those. Well, Maxi Kleber, actually. But other than that.
As an unbiased fan without any rooting interest in this finals, I'm pretty pleased with the matchup. I think, like I said, there's 5 different guys who can put up 40, maybe even 6 with Derek White, Porzingis. You never know at any given point. Like, yes,
Peyton
Denver
Pritchard
would have been fun. Yeah, exactly. Denver would have been fun, but it's like if we don't get Jokic in the finals, I think this is the next best thing. I really do.
That's what I was going to ask you. Would have it been more exciting with Minnesota being in it with Anthony Edwards?
I'm going to say no. I think with Luka and Kyrie on the Mavs, just the way they play, I think just exciting-wise, the team of the Mavericks would have been more exciting than the Wolves. Player-wise, I think Ant's probably top, but team-wise, I'm glad the Mavericks are there.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like social media, it would have been more exciting. It would have been like, oh, what did Ant say post-game? But as far as hoops go, no, this is better.
His aura, as some may say.
Yeah, I would say I would take this over Minnesota for sure. I think Anthony Edwards is awesome, but outside of Anthony Edwards, I don't want to watch anybody else on the Timberwolves team play basketball.
To be honest, I think Boston would steamroll Minnesota, and I think Dallas is going to put up a series. That's my take. I think Boston would have waxed Minnesota.
I think they would have too.
I'm not just saying that because they lost either. I felt that way going into it. But I don't know. Last question for you guys on this. Gun to your head. Do you think we'll ever see Mavs Celtics in the finals, Luka versus Tatum after this year? Or is it the only time we'll see him?
Yeah, is this going to be a rivalry that's created and for years to come?
I don't think it'll be like a back-to-back rivalry where it's like, oh, they played 4 years in a row, like Cavs, Golden State. But I do feel like we'll see Mavs Celtics in the finals before it's all said and done again.
That's a good question. I think we see them a couple times. It's easy to say
wouldn't
that
shock
now.
me.
Seeing them in the finals right now, it's easy to say, yeah, we'll see them in the finals a couple times. But yeah, I think that's a great point. And honestly, like I said, it's easy to say right now, but maybe it is back-to-back. Maybe we do see him 3 times in a row, especially if the Mavs can bolster up the roster a little bit.
Doesn't feel like Luka's a one and done. Does not feel like Luka's one and done in the finals.
For sure. The only problem is the West is so tough, right?
Yeah.
But Boston's wise, the way the East is shaping up, they're going to be here for a long time. Every single one of those guys is locked down for like at least 4 years. So they're there to stay. The problem, it's just going to see if Dallas can keep coming back.
Or if Giannis leaves, what other big move happens? Does Embiid go somewhere? Does Giannis make a super team?
Does Jaylen Brown want his own team?
Yeah. Or is Zion healthy, and is Brandon Ingram playing? If Brandon Ingram's playing, I'm probably taking that team to win the finals.
Yeah.
To be
Can
honest.
Brandon Miller make that jump in year 2?
Okay.
Or
all right.
are we
I got
just
3 hours
overthinking it?
on this, Chase. Don't get us going. We can go 3 hours on Hornet stuff. No problem at any given notice.
I've got a Trey Man season preview on standby, ready to give out. Or are we just overthinking this? And then the Spurs are going to be in the finals for the next 10 years. And it's going to be Wemby every single year.
That team is so bad around. They've got so much work to do around him, man.
Genuinely, how many years before we see Wemby in the finals? Because he will be there. But how many years do we give it?
4.
And will it be with the Spurs? 4? I think it'll be with the Spurs, too.
4 with the Spurs.
Yeah, I like that.
Like minimum though. I don't see. Hey, in 4 years from now exactly, we're going to see Wemby in the finals. But I think it's going to take minimum 4 years. That roster's rough, man. They got.
It is.
If they draft super well, and then they can bring stars in and everything. But it's also kind of hard to bring stars in.
Yeah, I agree. And this draft is just a brutal draft, anyways. Like to hit on both those picks would be.
No, dude, Alex Sarr's a star. Dude, you're crazy. Dude, you're so crazy.
Dude,
You've clearly been in the lab.
Why would you ever want someone? You're taking Alex Sarr over R.J. Barrett? Are you serious, Chase? R.J. Barrett on $30 million? That is a steal. R.J. Barrett can be the face of the league.
He played for Coach K. He knows how to win.
R.J. Barrett is better than any player in this draft, Chase. Even at $30 million.
I got one more random point, not random, but like point to bring up before we close here. How mad was Mark Cuban that he wasn't the owner holding the trophy and getting interviewed and answering questions? It felt like he was like smiling through gritted teeth, where it's like, man, I couldn't have held out for one more effing year before I sold my majority stake.
What's the deal there?
So
am I stupid?
He sold the team. No, he sold the team. Period.
Yeah, I understand
but
that,
he's
but
still the governor of basketball operations or something. He still makes the decisions surrounding the team, but he sold it. So it's like, what are we doing?
So, but you're just like, hey, I'll let you own this, but I get to make all the decisions, but you got to pay me $2.9 or $3.5 billion to do this.
And I'm still courtside at every game, and I'm the face still. Like,
And
I
you get to
guarantee,
make the decisions. That's the whole fun about being an owner.
I guarantee the casual NBA fan had no clue he sold the team. And then when that new guy went up there and like held the trophy and started talking to Ernie Johnson, people were like, wait, what? Like, what's going on?
No offense to that new guy. It kind of sucked. I want a Cuban up there, man. I was like,
Yeah, can we get
this
some
guy?
like emotion? Yeah.
How much do you think Cuban would have to pay to get that spot up there to lift the trophy?
I don't think
How much do you think he would pay to say in that moment, like they know they're about to win in the fourth quarter, the owner comes down and said, "Hey man, I'll make a deal with you, $100 million. You get to go lift the Western
he
Conference
says-
trophy."
$100 million for 10% stake for the next 5 years, and I'll
Royalties.
accept that.
No, if the Mavs win the finals, Cuban's gonna be like the first one up there.
You think
He makes all the decisions. He's make all the decisions, dude. It's his team. Like,
Yeah, but he's not lifting it first. It's always the owner, isn't it? Which I think is a stupid thing in basketball we do, and
I agree.
even football too. Like, isn't it so weird every year whenever the Hunt guy is for the Chiefs? We'll call him Mr.
Yeah.
Hunt. Whenever Mr. Hunt for the Chiefs
Mike
goes
Hunt?
and I don't want to.
Michael.
Mike.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Mike.
It's a joke.
Yeah, I don't know a Mike. But anyhow,
It's a joke.
I got it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Keep going with your point there. Please continue.
Yeah, but isn't it weird whenever like the owner lifts the trophy in football? Like Bob Kraft lifting the trophy, he's like, "We are so thankful for the Patriots," and they're reading some PR statement that some person just handed them to read once they get up to the mic. It's like, give this to the captain of the team immediately. Like in soccer, they let the captain of the team lift the trophy. The dude, that's who won the trophy. Let them lift it, then talk to the owners. Like I understand the owners pay for everything and whatnot, but like. No,
I would even want like the general manager or the coaches or somebody that like really is involved in the day-to-day operations. Like the owners just own the team. Like,
yeah, dude.
Congratulations on owning a team with all these people that were great. Like,
yeah, Michael wins his 6. Like, where is Jerry Krause at? Let's get this dude the mic.
Yeah, the Hornets win their first title. Michael Jordan, where are you?
No, dude, Rich Schmall, get up here. Gabe Plotkin.
GameStop. All right, last thing. Chase, mainly for you, how much does Boston having home court in this series matter?
You know, it doesn't matter as much as I used to think it does. And I have a couple theories like that. But I'll start with this. From what I've understood and like heard and even seen on TV, Boston crowd's kind of blown this year, which sucks because they're usually one of the best. And the Garden's rocky and it's a special place. But it hasn't been good today. And we've talked about this a little bit before the pod, but home court doesn't seem to matter anymore. And I have a couple reasons for that. One, which I think is a very real one, real fans are getting priced out. Yep. You just cannot pay to go to these stupid games. And the people that can are all the corporate people there to make business transactions and refuse to wear the shirts and are too cool for school. Yeah. And they're not going to embarrass themselves in front of whatever the heck they're trying to, deal they're trying to close.
Quick question. How much do you think the get-in price is to Game 1 in Boston on SeatGeek right now after fees?
Well, it can be $20 less with code CarterCast.
That's right. I'm going to go with $436.
Like nosebleeds? We talking nosebleeds?
Nosebleeds. The worst seat in the building.
Get in the door.
$850.
$920. $920 to get into Game 1 for Boston. Mavs,
this is the problem, Carter and Connor. This is why home court sucks. Everyone knows the best fans are the ones that I don't know.
But this is why like everyone's like soccer fans are awesome. That's why you look at fans in Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool. Not Manchester United. All these fans over there in Europe, you're like, this is unbelievable. Dortmund, you're like, these atmospheres are ridiculous. How are they doing this?
Yep.
It's because they don't price out fans in Europe. And
that's the primary reason.
And it's crazy because you get in someone who's willing to pay $1,000. You think some dude in a tech fest is going to sit there and start chugging 25 beers and screaming, "Let's go Celtics"? No.
Yeah.
He's there with his date being like, "Oh, yeah, isn't this awesome? We're sitting 10th row at the NBA Finals right now. Like, go Celtics." It has like a foam finger.
Little golf clap going on and like a cocktail in the other hand with like one of those little plastic straws. It's like, all right, like, yes, good shot, Jason Tatum.
I'm not going to put on this shirt. It's going to ruin my look. It doesn't match my shoes.
Yeah, it's like going to a Carolina basketball game.
Okay, there it is. I was waiting. We're an hour in. We're an hour in. There it is.
Yeah.
No, that's the biggest reason.
Especially in the playoffs, though. In the playoffs, and especially just like quadrupled in the finals. That's when you see it. Towards like, if you want to go to an NBA Finals game, you have to know somebody, you have to be a season ticket holder, or you have to pay literally thousands of dollars for travel, room, board, whatever it is, and then the ticket on top of everything else. So it does suck to not see these like true fans in the NBA arena, especially in the finals. Like, I don't think a team would ever do this, but it's almost like, hey, here's 1,000 or 2,000 seats for like these really dedicated fans that we know have been fans for like 20 years. Like, here's a discounted price or just something like that. Like, I don't know the logistics behind it, and that'll never happen. But
yeah,
I mean, college sports is a great example. Just they let the students in for cheap. And they're always, I mean, not always if you go to Carolina, but like 90%.
There's two.
Converted.
At 90% of schools, right, the student section is the best part. And they're in there for dirt cheap because they're the students, right? It's just how it works.
It's the best part when you're being respectful, and unlike BYU when you're yelling profanities at other players. So. And doing gestures like horns down. So yeah, you're banned.
Wait. You said 90% of schools. I know you're just kind of like spitballing there, but is there any school where the students aren't the best part of the crowd?
I'm sure there is. Yeah, I had no specific examples.
There's
I
not
couldn't
many,
even think of one. Like, I mean, you could do like the University of Utah, kind of like they just don't have that many fans at their games. But like, I guess
maybe
Wake
like some
Forest?
of the SEC schools that like
But
they
wait,
have like
SEC
diehard fans everywhere.
I don't know.
Do
Kentucky?
they? Yeah, that's a tough one.
Wisconsin does this thing where all the students leave after the second quarter. I'm dead serious. They do that at football games, so it's like,
That's
guys
good
are
on
gonna stick
football,
around.
too.
Yeah, but yeah, I know home court's it doesn't matter as much. I do think we see a different Boston Garden though in the finals because I
I
also
hope so.
feel like if you're a legit fan and you know this team very well, you're also like, if we know we're going to the finals, it's like an Alabama fan. You're like, why would I pay money to, or a Georgia fan, why would I pay money to go to the college football playoff semifinal, travel all the way to the Rose Bowl when I know we're probably going to be in the title game anyways in Houston? I'll just pay to go there instead.
Yeah, and let's not be afraid to say it. It's kind of been, Boston's pretty much been coasting throughout the playoffs so far. They haven't had a tough matchup. They haven't really been tested. It's almost like, oh, Carolina Duke, like it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the ACC tournament. Like all the real fans will come on Friday and Saturday because they know for a fact they'll be in the semifinals. It's almost like that with Boston, to where those fans were like, there's about a 95% chance we're going to be in the NBA Finals this year. So, I can't fully blame them for that arena being dead because it's kind of been, there's been some good games, but just like stakes-wise, it's never felt like Boston's had their back against the wall at all. So there hasn't been like that playoff atmosphere, I feel like.
That's a good point. No, it's a good point. And I hope it's different. I really do.
Yeah. Home court,
Anything
though,
else?
another theory I have is like, I feel like I said this earlier a little bit. Every arena is kind of the same. There's a huge video board with flashing lights and music playing and people saying get
Defense.
loud and everything. Right. Like that's every
Defense.
single arena. There's not really any competitive advantage to the actual home court itself. So like it's just the fans being loud and crazy. Yeah, woohoo, like cheering behind the basket. But these guys, they see that for 82 games a year. And yes, it's amped up in the playoffs, but not to the degree it's going to affect most of these guys. So it's almost like, hey, I'm coming into a hostile environment to where like I have nothing to lose. Like these guys all hate me, but there's no pressure on me to win. So I'm going to come in here and win. Like it's almost like I don't know. Like Luke on the road tonight, where it's like he relished that. He was like, I'm going to come in here and snatch their souls, and I don't feel any kind of pressure at all. They weren't forcing anything. It was so smooth and so easy. So I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's changed so much over the last 5 years, but it has. And I don't know if we'll ever get that back. I don't know what it'll take.
I also did travel just get better over the last couple of years or something? Like, are
Well,
the
the
jets
schedule,
better?
yeah.
Or the hotels better? I mean, I don't know, but yeah.
Here's my. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Here's my working theory. All right, I've been thinking about this for a while, guys. Let me know what you think. So home court meant something. How long ago would you say? Like 6 years ago. It was like, okay, this is a big deal. Like this actually, we see
Prime
teams-
Warriors.
Yes.
19.
All right. 19. Right. What happened in 2020? COVID-19.
pandemic.
So then we go to the bubble. Right. No crowd. No crowd at all. They pump in noise. It's a mess. Then we have this 21 season where there's like 2,000 people in the stands. So it's like there's no home court there. Players have been acclimated to playing away games, and it now no longer has an effect on them to play in away games because of COVID, because of all the restrictions, because what's gone on there. That's my working theory, that COVID kind of ruined home court.
Over under 14. Over under shots. Cat takes in a day 1,499.
I'm going
Won't
to go with
slide
over
under.
because I trust him. I trust him. Going over.
So that's one of the dumbest quotes in a press conference. That's
After a loss.
That's like the LeBron when he has the book out at a press conference. You're like, and he hasn't read it.
It's like, what's your favorite part of the book? And he's like, oh, well, like the back cover was great.
He's like, yeah, the synopsis was awesome. And real quick, one of my favorite moments of the season. Two of my favorite dumb moments of the season were the Pistons Wingstop promotional. That was
That was
unbelievable.
awesome.
So good.
That's
awesome.
unbelievable. And then Zion in the press conference, because one, it is very relatable because I'm an idiot. I'm super dumb, so I would do the same thing at times for sure. But lackadaisical, dude, it kills me every time.
Well, the good thing is you don't have to wait that much longer for a round two because you're going to have Kendrick Perkins on draft night with about 5 of those every 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all those French players there's like 4 French players projected in the first round. That's a disaster for Cat.
Blyle,
not Cat, Kendrick
Kubalale.
Perkins.
Yeah, I know.
Robert
what a
Dillingham.
time.
Ham. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe on the YouTube, like and subscribe. Check out TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, social media. You know the drill. At CarterCast on everything. At Connor_Sparrow. At Chase_Rogers0. At CarterB8. And Apple, Spotify. Subscribe, rate, review. You know the drill as always. CarterCast.com. We'll be back. We're recording Sunday night, so it'll be out Monday morning. Big finals preview. We'll go in. We'll have the stats ready. We'll have the takes ready. I know, Chase, real quick, confidence level 1 through 10. Boston winning the finals. Be honest. Right now, we're about 10. We're a week from the finals. 1 through 10.
7.3. I think they're winning the finals.
Ooh, that's pretty high.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I'm
high.
pretty confident. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week, and then we'll see y'all then.